Yo, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's up? What's going on? And welcome back. Happy Money, not Monday, but freaking Tuesday. All right, welcome back. I hope you guys had an amazing 3-day holiday weekend. You guys absolutely enjoyed that time off with friends, family. You soaked up some sun. You drank a little bit, but not too much. You're feeling pretty good today. You're ready to attack this market. Ready to be back. Maybe you're feeling like Mr. Narco up there, you know, when the market's closed due to the holiday weekend. Sitting there. Maybe you didn't do anything. Maybe you just stood in your rain pool, hands behind your back, contemplating life. What am I going to do for the next few days? Market's not open. Josh isn't going to be around. I'm going to stand here with an OJ in my fist. And maybe that was you. Or maybe you actually enjoyed your time. I enjoyed my time, guys. It was a great 3-day weekend. I had a lot of fun. I spent time with friends and family and just enjoyed life and really got super dialed in for this week to come. It was an amazing, productive, fun, just awesome weekend. So I hope you guys had a really, really good weekend as well. Most importantly, I hope you guys are fired up, ready to be back, ready to rock and roll, ready to crush it, and have an amazing week number 2. It's not week number 2 of September. It's week number 1, baby. We had 1 day last week. We don't count that as the first full week of September. This is the first official week of September. We're going to start it today. Rock and roll, hit it hard, make it happen, and start the month of September strong and profitable. So let's get it. You guys know the drill. Hit me with a big ol' Alpha Day Trading. Good morning. Before I do anything else, you guys got to hit me with the good morning. That's the only request. So give me my good mornings. I'll be really happy, fired up, and we can rock and roll. Start reviewing your top stocks for the day, making sure that you guys are all set. So let's go. Yo, this Sizzler, good freaking morning. I love the energy. Cole, what's up? Good morning, Jonathan. Corey, Mr. Johnny Holmes. Stirs in the house. Steve, AJ Trends. What's up, brother, man? Welcome back. Good morning. William's been here holding it down this morning. Got Anita in the house. She's ready to rock and roll, ready to have an amazing day. Steve M, what's up, boss? Welcome back. Good morning. Over on YouTube, we got a few individuals here ready to rock and roll. I absolutely love it. Sean, what's up? Brent, Travis, listen and relax. I love it. Good morning. Giovanni, what's up, boss? How are the jitters? Nicotine fight? I feel fucking awesome. That's all I'm going to say. I feel great. Like I said, the first day or two is like the worst couple of days for me. I feel fantastic. Like I have no urge for the nicotine. I've been super dialed in. I'm starting a 75 hard challenge for myself. It's actually a 4-month long challenge. I'm just going to crush the next 4 months of the year. I'm super just pumped up. I'm super dialed in. I'm super motivated. I am just ready to rock and roll. And it's been a great few days. I feel fantastic. No urge whatsoever. Friday was a rough day. That was the first day. I was super cloudy. I was out of it. Right now, I feel fantastic. I feel like $1 million, and I'm about to make $1 million in the market over the next 4 months. So let's go. Let's do a fib lesson today. Just give me a notate at 11 o'clock, and let's dive into a fib lesson. I'm pretty sure we already have one in the courses, but we'll go ahead and just do another one today. And I know there's a fib lesson in the vaults as well. We looked at it last week, but yeah, let's do another fib lesson today if you guys want. Might as well. Doesn't hurt. So again, let's dive into it. This is called the pre-market rundown. This is when I run down your top stocks for the day to make sure you're prepared, right? I can sit here and just review my stocks and be ready to go at 9:30. But I want to give you guys some attention. I want to make sure that you guys are focused, dialed in, prepared, and at least I can come in unbiasedly and do some due diligence. Do some TA, right? To make sure that you guys are super dialed in, ready to attack the day, right? So let's go. Pre-market rundown, 8:45. You guys know the drill. Come prepared at 8:45, ready to rock, ready to have your stocks reviewed. We'll do this until about 9:15, 9:20, and then we will review the SPY, the Qs, and then some of my top stocks for today as well. Tesla is like the number 1. You got Coin on watch today, maybe Apple. And then there's some back burners, right? There's some back burners that have potential, but Tesla, for the most part, is the number 1 play of the day for me, and then Coin. Maybe Apple, and then the SPY. Other than that, I'm not really looking at anything else, but we'll still review those stocks because there's decent potential around the corner. So Let's go. What are your stocks for the day that you need some help with, that you need reviewed? Let's rock and roll, guys. This is your time. Utilize it. AULT, I posted a video on this morning inside of alerts, gave you the full breakdown on AULT. So if you want the full breakdown, go watch it. I'll give you a couple quick levels and what we're expecting. Main support right now on AULT is down between 126 and 128. And then top resistance, these are daily levels, by the way, is up between 166 and 169. All right, before we move on, I want to set the expectations. Every time I talk about levels and zones, like right now, we're talking about these blue zones and any levels. Every time I talk about zones and levels, they're all daily. They're all higher time frame levels and zones. So instead of me saying a daily zone, higher time, they're automatically daily higher time frame zones of support resistance. I just want to set the expectations. The only time it'll be an intraday zone, I'll make it known. I'm like, and by the way, this zone right here is an intraday zone. Right? It doesn't carry as much weight as the daily levels, but it's an intraday level that's important, right? I'll make that known. But 90% of the time, the areas, the zones, the levels we talk about come right from the daily time frame. So I'm not going to continue to say that's a daily zone. That's a daily zone. I'm setting expectations right now. You guys are all set. All right. So overhead resistance between 166 and 169. Then overhead daily resistance up around 190. Then $2, right? $2 is psychological resistance. And then we have room all the way up to this overhead zone between 218 and 225 here on AULT. And again, you want the full breakdown, watch that 5-6 minute long video that I posted in alerts on AULT. But we're just looking for a couple of things. We want to see the stock come down into this lower zone of support, set up, right? Give us a reason to take the trade. And that could be a great area to look to get long into that next overhead level of resistance, right? Or we're just looking at some point for AULT to break and hold over this overhead zone of resistance and see if we can turn into intraday support. Then we know we have some potential to 190 and then maybe up to $2 here on AULT, right? But AULT is one of our top stocks for today. Again, you have this lower zone of support between 126 and 128, overhead resistance between 166 and 169. You're right in the middle of these two zones. You just need to wait for the market to come to you, right? Is the market going to come down and set up for the long? You got to wait for that to happen. Is the market going to push, break that overhead zone of resistance and turn support where you take a trade long for a possible break and retest? You have to wait for that to happen. Right now, the no-go zone. We're not touching it. Just need to wait for the market to come on down to us. The only other thing that you could probably do right now is throw a downtrend across these lower highs, right? Just go ahead and throw a downtrend across these lower highs. And I would like to see it come down into support, then break the downtrend. That would be good confirmation to get long into this overhead zone of resistance that we already know up to 192. And then that next overhead zone between 218 and 225. They're on AULT. Steve just kind of sitting back this morning. Yeah, man. Same here. You know, Tuesdays after a 3-day holiday weekend are just 50-50, right? It's like some days coming back after a 3-day weekend, the market's hot. The market's ripping and running. There's so much opportunity. Sometimes the market sucks. There's just no volume, no movement. And so that's me as well. I'm just going to sit back this morning on my hands and kind of observe and see, like, we have good market conditions. Are things moving consistently? Are technicals being respected? Or is it very choppy, slow market that I don't trade well in, right? I'm really just going to make that assessment when the market opens and get more of an idea on what could we expect to see today in the overall market. So that's what I'm doing as well, Steve. Do we have any stocks that you guys need reviewed over on the tube? You got Scott with Affirm. Let's look at AFRM real quick, see what we got here on Affirm. All right, so first thing I want to do is just mark up my key daily zones, my key daily levels, the ones that are just crystal clear, the ones that just stand out to you. All right? And all that stands out to me right there. And then we got a lot of this prior support resistance on the daily. Come all the way down to that low, drag it on out to the right, connect those highs. So we connect all of this prior, support resistance here. That's a zone between 2138, 2195 on a firm. So again, we have some lower support. That lower support zone is between 1924 and 1975. Again, this daily overhead zone of resistance between 2138 and 2195. And again, just being ran off these daily lows and these daily highs as resistance. And then I would say right here, right? We got this daily low, got these lows, you got all these highs as resistance, and then you have this most recent spiking high that was right around like 2275. So that's going to be some resistance coming on up here on a firm. So you got your three main key areas of support resistance here on AFRM. And so it really depends on where a firm opens on up today. Where are we going to open on up? Or are we going to be able to push into this next zone of daily resistance? I mean, where are we at in pre-market? We're not really trading a whole lot in pre-market, but we're holding inside of that daily zone, right? So to keep it super simple, we know this zone is a lot of prior support, prior resistance, and we came into that zone here on Friday, right? But just to keep it simple, here's what I want to do. All right, because if you're looking for a continuation move, just mark up the prior day close and high, right? And you just want to see a break and hold over the prior day close and high to get that continuation move to the upside. I mean, that's basically what you saw here on a firm the last couple of days, where you gapped up a little bit, came down into the prior day close and high, you pushed. Same thing on Friday, gap up, pull back, prior day close. You hold, you push. Do the same thing here with a firm. Go ahead and mark up Friday's close at 2186 and Friday's high 2204. That's going to be some resistance coming on up. If we can today, right, intraday, break that level, pull back into it and hold it as support, that will look great for a long into that daily zone of resistance that we just identified. That again is between 2275 and 2293. That's only if we break and hold that zone that we just identified between 2186 and 2204. If we break and hold that zone, then we have room into that next overhead zone of resistance. All right, but what if we can't break that overhead zone of resistance? What if we get stuffed, right, at this zone? If we can't break above it and we start to fade and fall, could we have a good short? Absolutely, but how low could a firm go? That's the big question, is like, how much opportunity to the downside would we truly have? I would literally just go back and mark up Thursday's high day and Friday's open, right? They're pretty close in price. So Thursday's high day, Friday's open, right there between 2097 and then 2112. That's going to be a nice little zone of support. So we have our main areas identified on a firm. It really just comes down to this zone right here and depends on what really happens, right? If we can break that area and hold it, right, and we set up to the long side off that zone of daily support, hey, we can see a continuation to the upside again and potentially see the stock get up towards around 2275 and then 2293. But if we come on up into that zone of daily resistance and we top on out and start rolling on over, and it appears that sellers are here in control and we want to get short, we know we have some room back down towards around this 2097 to 2112 area of support on the firm. So your line in the sand is this zone right here. That's your make or break, right? Something's going to happen here and you should have some opportunity to take a trade, whether that's a break and retest for the long, whether that's just we can't break above it, we're topping out, rolling over, and you can confidently get short at that point in time. So let's keep it on watch right at that zone. Let's see what happens, and let's see if a firm gives us any opportunity for today. AULT, is it a good buy at 128 a share? Like I said in the video this morning, and like we just mentioned here in the live session as we were reviewing AULT, this is a very strong daily zone of support between 126 and 128. As long as we stay above the zone and hold it, you could have a low risk entry at this area of support, and you could have some nice high reward there on AULT, right? Because if you come down and hold that zone like you did here, and you see that same price action here, you already know where your entry is going to be right at that zone. You should have an idea of where you would place your stop losses underneath all of this support, right? And you already know where your target is. At least first target would be back up into these pre-market highs. You want to see, right, AULT hold this lower zone of support like you saw it hold right here. You see how you came down into it and you held it beautifully, and then you had a nice big rip back into that prior high. You want to see the same thing happen here. Come down into this zone. Hold it as support, right? Could you see a nice big rip back into all of these highs, all of this resistance? Absolutely. That would be a price target. So you know where your target's at. You know where an entry would be at support, assuming we hold support. And again, you got to give it a little bit of breathing room. I would put stops underneath all of these lows, right? So where's the lowest point? Right here at 121. I would throw a stop at, say, 119, right? Just to get your stops underneath all of these lows, and make sure your stop is underneath that zone of support. So you can see that you're going to risk 10 cents. You have potential to make 30 cents. That's a 3-to-1, right? So you got a 3-to-1 setup. You're holding that strong daily zone of support. Now you just have to build a plan. How many shares you get to take, right? Your stop loss, your target, and then do you even like the trade? Is there a solid reason to get in? You have to make that decision, right? Again, there has to be a reason, and you have to be confident and convicted to pull the trigger. You know how much you're risking. You know how much you're going to make. Now you have to assess how many shares to buy, and you have to make sure that you fully accept that risk before you put on that trade. But yeah, AULT has great potential. It's definitely one of our top stocks. We made a video on it this morning and posted that on up for you guys to make sure that if this thing's set up, you knew exactly what to expect, what to look for, what to wait for, and how to get involved here with AULT. Okay? That's AULT, guys. Keep it on watch. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the SPY real quick. All right, let's talk about the SPY. Main area of support here today with the SPY is this zone between 449.17 and 449.68, right? And we actually came down into that zone here in pre-market, and we held it beautifully. This doesn't count. That lower shadow here doesn't count. That was a misprint. But this, 100%. We came down into the zone and held it beautifully, pushed on up, and we came back down into the upper end of that zone, the upper level of that zone, held it right here. Got a nice push. So we can see that we are holding that zone beautifully here in pre-market. That is our line in the sand for today, okay? Whatever happens here, the make or break. It's your line in the sand. Something's bound to happen down at that lower zone of support. Can we pull back into it, hold on up, and set up for a long? I don't know. But if we see the market come to us, set up for a long, and it's a high probability trade, let's rock and roll. We know we could be looking for entries somewhere down in this zone. If, again, it's setting up, providing us with a great trade. Just because the stock comes into a zone doesn't make it an automatic buy. There has to be an intraday reason as well to get in. But let's say we have that reason at our level of daily support, right? We could look for some entries down around that zone, put stops right below it, and the SPY has room all the way up into this next overhead zone of resistance between 452.83 and 453.18, right? So we have good potential on the SPY today, right? There's a lot of great potential to the long side. We know we would have nice tight stops. You can already see that the risk reward is here. There's a lot of upside potential with the SPY if we hold this lower zone of support, right? So 4-to-1, 5-to-1, maybe 6-to-1, depending on the setup, depending on how well the SPY moves today. But there is great potential here to the upside, and we are already sitting at a pretty key area of support from the SPY, right from the daily. And we see that it's already being respected beautifully multiple times here in pre-market. But here's the deal. SPY doesn't just necessarily have to come down and hold that level. We could crack right below it. If we crack below it and see that area turning into intraday resistance, Again, we have a great opportunity, a good reason to get short off that zone if we crack below it and stay below it. We have a lot of great potential to the short side as well. So we have a lot of great upside and downside potential today with the SPY. It just depends on what do we do at the zone. We get a hold of this support. We get to crack below it and hold below it as resistance. We have no freaking idea. We just have to wait for that to happen. But we know this is a great high probability area that something's probably going to take place here on the SPY at that zone, at that level, right? And where could the SPY go down today, though? Right? Let's say we do crack that level, hold below it as resistance, and we just fade and fall today. How low could we go? What's that song? How low can we go? You could definitely see the SPY. You know, there's going to be some pit stops along the way down, but the next main zone is down between like 443 and 444.30. That's a pretty big drop, right? That's potentially, right, $5 to $6 of downside here with the SPY. And that's going to be a lot of great support here on the SPY. But yeah, there'll be some pit stops along the way down. It's not like the SPY is just going to go straight down 6 points without probably trying to hold on up and bounce. There are going to be a few other levels, again, that we could bounce at. Look at last Tuesday, right? You see these highs and lows, that pullback low. We had the intraday high. I mean, these are going to be some pit stops. These are going to be some areas along the way down that the SPY can come down to and possibly see a bounce. These are areas that you would just want to go ahead and scale out and lock in some profit. But your main target, right, the next key daily level, the downside is all the way down in that lower zone between 433 and 444.30. They're on the SPY. So again, to recap, your line in the sand, your make or break today on the SPY is this current zone of support, very strong zone of support between 449.17 and 449.68. Just got to wait and see what happens there. Wait for the SPY to come to that zone, look and see what takes place, go from there, build a solid plan, make sure we're on the right side of the trade. Until that happens, we're just simply hands off at that point in time. All right, so we're all set, ready to rock and roll here with the SPY. You just got to wait for the bad boy to open, come on down to us, and go from there and see if there's a reason to get in. All right. Tesla is absolutely a stock I want to watch today, right? Because we are sitting at a very, very key level, in my opinion, here on Tesla. And again, we just kind of look at the daily to start, right? We have a gap up close, right? So that day that we gapped up, we closed right here at like we gapped up and we closed right there at 244.43. Right? The next day we came down, put in a low of day at that zone, we bounced. Here, came down into that zone, we held it, we bounced. Here, last Monday, high a day, okay, got rejected. And then we also closed right at that level on Friday. So that's also going to be Friday's close. And we know that prior day, highs and lows, opens and closes, are going to be areas where the stock could hit a support resistance. Right now, if you look left and you have other valid points, it only validates that zone even more. And so I can definitely say, like, okay, I'm starting with Friday's close. Do we have multiple touch points? Valid touch points. Well, we have one right here, right? We have some support right here. We can see here, we had some support here as well. So I can see this has been hit several times, right? As support, as resistance, okay? But something else that stands out to me is it's also your 20 EMA. So not only, right, are we going to be at this key area of daily support resistance, we're also going to be at the 20 EMA here on Tesla. And Tesla likes to respect its 20 EMA. I mean, we talked about this last week, that Tesla really likes to grind and respect that 20 EMA, along with the 50 SMA as well. But the 20 EMA is respected as resistance. It has been respected as support, as a lot of resistance. Now we're coming back down into that level as well, the 20 EMA. And it just so happens to be a very key daily level of prior support, prior resistance. And it's also Friday's close. So I want to keep this key area on watch. It's like a light blue zone. That's the line in the sand, right? That's my line in the sand today here with Tesla. And then I know where we could go to the upside as far as next overhead zones of resistance. And I know how low we can go to the downside. But I know my key area, my make or break, my line in the sand here on Tesla is this zone between 244.41 and 245. So That's an area that I'm really watching closely on Tesla. And I'm just going to wait for something to happen, right? Tesla right now is gapping below, at this point in time, below that zone. It's going to be overhead resistance if we open below it. So if Tesla cannot break that area, I'm looking to get short on Tesla today down into this lower zone of support. That's down between 241.75 and 242.19. Right? And if we ever crack below that zone of daily support, then Tesla has room to fade and fall all the way down towards around this zone between 237.80 to 238.98. That's if we cannot break that line in the sand, that key zone of right now resistance, right? Because we're gapping below it. But let's say Tesla gets above that level and we hold it as support today. That's fine. I'm not biased to the long side. I'm not biased to the short side. I don't care where Tesla wants to go. I just want to be on the right side of the trade, right? Tesla wants to dump today. I want to get on the short side, be on the right side. If Tesla wants to break that zone and hold it as intraday support, hey, so be it. I'll take it long. And Tesla has a lot of great potential to the long side as well. The next main daily level of overhead resistance on Tesla would be this zone between 250.49 and 251.10. So you can see there's a lot of great potential to the long side, 6 points plus to the upside. You can also see there's great potential to the short side. First target gives you about, $3-ish, right? But your final target could give you about $6 as well. So there's great potential to the long side and the short side. Like I said, it really depends on what Tesla is going to be doing at this line in the sand, this key area of right now resistance, because we're gapping below it. But we got 15 minutes for the market to open. Anything can happen. Tesla could open up here. And hey, that would be support at that point in time. But since we're right now below this zone, we know it's going to be some overhead resistance. Let's keep Tesla on high watch. There's a lot of great opportunity today with Tesla. And again, Tesla's been moving well the last couple of weeks. It's been relatively easy to trade the last couple of weeks. We've been having fun with Tesla, and we know Tesla, how it's moving. So with that being said, this is my number one large cap stock for the day. I think there's other great opportunity out there. I think, Coin has good potential, Apple, CRM, Boeing, Bank of America, but I don't think they take priority over Tesla. Tesla's clean, right? Tesla's been moving well the last couple of weeks. Tesla's sitting at a very key area of resistance, and Tesla has potential to move 5-6 points, whether that's up or down today. I would rather just focus on Tesla and wait for Tesla to set up versus looking at 10-20 stocks and getting all distracted and missing opportunity. All right, but there are other stocks that have decent potential today, right? And we're just going to dissect those very quickly here. You got Coin has potential today. If Coin can hold this daily zone of support between 77.14 and $78, if we can hold this zone, we can start to see Coin push out of the zone back into overhead resistance, whether that's today, whether that's tomorrow, maybe Thursday, or maybe this is something that sets up this week and starts to rip by the end of the week. So if we just hold that lower zone of support, we don't crack below it, there is a lot of great potential to see Coin have a nice little push back up into this overhead zone of resistance. And that zone's going to be between 84.75 and 86.25 here on COIN. You can see right now in pre-market, we're holding that lower zone. That's the zone that we want to see hold as support. As long as we hold that level, right, we can look to play this long up into that next area of overhead resistance. Again, that's 84.75 to 86.25 there on COIN. So I will be keeping this one on watch, right, at this lower zone of support. Apple, we were looking for Apple last week to close the daily gap. We got close. We got within about 60 cents of closing that gap. But right now, Apple is getting beaten down pretty good this morning, right? Apple folded, but why on earth is Tom Cruise's Colt opposing right to repair? ARM targets more than $52 billion valuation. Again, I don't even know what the news was here on Apple this morning, and it's not even loading, but Apple clearly had some news. Apple is dropping on off while the market is, kind of grinding its way on up just a smidge. You see Apple is just holding flat. And so a couple things could happen with Apple. It really comes down to what do we do at 187.40. All right, what do we do at this 187.40? That was the gap down high, right? Remember that gap down high we were targeting that gap fill last week on Apple. We were just simply looking for a break and hold over 187.39 to get that rip and run into the 190s. It made it all the way up to like 189.92. Very close to filling the gap. Now we're getting beaten down. Now we're pulling back into what level? We're pulling back to that 187.39. I'm curious to see what Apple does at this level. If Apple holds that level, Apple could still grind its way on up and still technically close the gap. That could happen. So I think it's worth watching Apple at this 187.39 level. But if Apple ever falls back below 187.39, we already know that was a key area of prior resistance that turns support, that turns support, that turns support, right, to get that gap fill, right? If we crack back below it, it could absolutely turn back into resistance, and then we could see Apple get its next leg on down, right? And we have some potential to see Apple get down towards around like 185. I'm just curious, right? It doesn't take priority on the watch list. It's not like the best looking opportunity today. Like Tesla looks great, Coin looks great, the SPY looks great. Affirm even looks pretty good. Apple, it's not shabby. It's decent. So I'm just going to be watching Apple as like a back burner at this 187.39 level. If we see a good reason to get involved with Apple at this level, hey, we'll see if there's a good reason to get in, right? Is it a good long? Is it a good short? I have no freaking idea. But I'm going to wait for Apple to open, see what we do at this 187.39, and then just simply go from there. We know we have great potential to still see Apple maybe close this gap at 190.68. That's still realistic. That could happen. We also know we have potential to see Apple fade and fall back down towards around 185. That could happen as well. Great upside, there's great downside with Apple, and we're sitting at a key level of support. So since we're sitting at a key level of support, I just want to keep Apple on watch and see if it ever sets up and provides us with any opportunity. All right, guys. And that's pretty much it, right? I got CRM on watch, maybe for a gap fill short. And I'm just looking to see if CRM stays below 221.20 today. If CRM opens inside of this gap zone, which looks like we are, if CRM just stays below this 221.20, I would look to get short on CRM to close this daily gap down around 215.67, right? We have this big gap that we could close to the short side today. So if we stay below that 221.20, we have potential to see CRM fade and fall down towards around 215.67. So I'm going to be watching CRM today for a gap fill short if that sets up. And then Boeing, I want to keep Boeing on watch as well because Boeing is coming into some key support, right? We have that spiking high. We have our gap up low of day. We have this low from August 18th. We just came down and put in a low at that same level here on Friday. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 valid points that we've hit right at this, 221.60 to 222 zone, right? We hit it as a high a day. That's an extreme point. Gap up low of day, significant point. Came back down and respected it here. August 18th, came back down and respected it here on Friday as well. I want to keep BA on high watch above this 221.60, 222 zone. A very, 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 I want to stress the very, very strong support here on Boeing, right? And if we can hold that level today, we may see confirmation to get long today into tomorrow, maybe for a nice swing trade here on BA. Because what am I also seeing? I'm also seeing a potential left shoulder, head, right shoulder. I don't know if you guys see that, but I'm seeing it. Right? We have this initial low at that valid support level, right? That's going to be a left shoulder. We got that lower low, call that a head. And then we're starting to pull back into that left shoulder, that initial low. That's also a very valid level of support. Potential right shoulder, question mark. It looks like it. Something else that stands out to me as well is not only do we have this potential inverse head and shoulders formation, not only are we pulling back into this very key, very strong level of daily support, we're also holding above the 50 SMA. So it's like I see 3 separate reasons for a BA looks really good for a possible day trade that can turn into a nice swing trade here on BA. So it all comes down to this line in the sand. What's BA going to do down between this 221.60 to 222 zone? If we hold it beautifully, set up, push, have a great opportunity to get in, this could be a great day trade opportunity that eventually turns into a solid swing trade. And we see the potential, right? We're pulling back into some key support, the 50 SMA, and possibly setting up for a bit of this inverse head and shoulders formation, right? We could see a nice little push, nice little reversal here on BA over the next couple of weeks back to the long side. So keep this one on high watch. Again, it's not a priority, but it's something that has great potential, and it's something to at least keep on watch. Let's see if it sets up. Let's see if it gives us a reason to get in. And hey, there's a lot of great potential here with BA. So keep it on watch, guys. And then lastly, Bank of America. Again, someone asked me about BAC back in June. I said, if we hit the trend line, you can get long. Someone asked me about it here as well. I said, if you come back and hit the trend line ahead of earnings, you can get long. And if someone's going to ask me about BAC again, I'm going to say same thing. You just came down and you hit the trend line, right? The last two times someone asked me about BAC, it was actually hitting the trend line. And I said, get long with stops under the trend line. Nice move. Nice move. Okay, if you're going to ask, hey, Josh, is BA look good? I mean, it's back down into this daily trend line. It's holding beautifully. You can get long at this trend line, put stops underneath of it, and get long, right? Maybe back up into the 200 SMA. You have a little gap that could get filled here on BAC as well. So I think this one has great potential for those of you that are still watching, like the JPMs, right? The BACs of the world. And BAC has been a really solid trade, you know, a few times this year, simply off the trend line for the next leg up. Trend line, next leg up. Trend line, you could see the next leg up. And something else that you notice here with BAC is every time it hits the trend line, you get that bounce, hit that trend line, get that bounce, you're putting in higher highs. So it's very possible that you see this trend line hold, and eventually you get a higher high on BAC, because, I mean, that's the trend so far at this point in time. But you have to be very mindful of the 200 SMA. That's one thing I will stress is, yeah, you may be able to get that higher high here, but at the same time, you need to be mindful of the 200 SMA. But there is potential. So for BAC, as long as you hold this uptrend on the daily on BAC, I would say you have at least some potential to come up and close that daily gap, which would be right around the 200 SMA as well. That would put you around like $30.50 to like 31 bucks on BAC. And again, you would just throw some stops underneath that trend line, underneath these swing lows. And I think you guys are all set ready to rock and roll with BAC for those of you that enjoy trading Bank of America, ticker BAC. So keep that one on high watch as well. And that's really what I got for you guys, right? Tesla, my main watch for today. You know that. Coin, another stock that I think has good potential. Day trade, maybe swing trade opportunity. Apple, it's a back burner, right? Just want to see what Apple does at that key support level. We know CRM is starting to look pretty good for a possible gap short, for a possible short to come down and fill that daily gap on CRM. We discussed BAC, right? Really good potential. Really good opportunity with BAC, possibly right around the corner. And then lastly, Bank of America. We'll have to see how BAC sets up for us. Okay. Other than that, you guys got the game plan, the breakdown. You're ready to rock and roll here with the SPY. You know exactly what I'm going to be doing at the start of the day. I'm going to be sitting on my hands. I'm going to be just in observation mode. And I'm really going to be just looking to see how the market moves. Is the market clean, consistent? Are technicals being respected? What's the price action look like? How can I rate these market conditions? And I'll go from there to attack today, but I want to make sure that we're locking in some amazing profits. All right, guys. So again, that's the game plan, right? That's the rundown. You guys are all set, ready to rock and roll with the SPY, Tesla, Coin, CRM, BA, BAC, Apple, some of those back burners. And a lot of you guys were mainly just focused on AULT, and you know exactly what to expect and what the game plan is here with AULT as well. And we also had an opportunity to talk about Affirm. So for those of you looking at AFRM, you guys have the game plan and the breakdown with Affirm as well. HSDT, nothing happening. CRKN, maybe a stock we'll watch. And then honestly, CAVA doesn't look bad either. Thanks, Dan Tino. We'll continue to keep an eye on CAVA as well. But other than that, really my main focus, the SPY, Tesla, at least at the start of the day. That's about it. Yo, Felicia. Good morning. How you doing? So do I see anything on Meta? I looked at Meta this morning, and I didn't see anything at first glance. I'm just looking at Meta, and the only thing that I see is a lot of overhead resistance. Not only have we just come up and smacked, this zone several times. I mean, if I can get this zone to draw, that'd be fantastic. Not only have we come up and literally just smacked this zone, several times as resistance or support, you're also getting rejected at the 50 SMA. So, I mean, look at all of this resistance here on Meta, right? See all of that? Boom, 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 topping, topping, topping. Can't break, can't break, can't break. That was down at 298. Tons of resistance at 298. Then you see it turn resistance here again, right? Then you came down into it and held it as support. You cracked below it. Now you see it turning resistance, 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 resistance. So we see that this zone is a very strong zone of daily resistance. That zone's between 298 and 299.43. Not only have we been smacking this overhead zone of resistance, you're also getting rejected off the 50 SMA. 50 SMA rejection 1 time, 2 times, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the past 2 weeks. So, yeah, Meta looks like it wants to start to drop, right? Tons of overhead resistance, failing to break above, just looking for that day where we actually start to drop on off here on Meta to feel confident that we could start to get short here on Meta. And I would say if we start cracking below, like 294.46, I think that could be a good area to start to get short on Meta. But we'll keep it on watch. There is good potential. But again, I wouldn't get long. Absolutely not. Right? Tons of overhead resistance. I would only be interested, honestly, in the short there on Meta if we ever see it really set up. But it's definitely something to keep on watch. All right, guys. So markets open. We are live. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's have an amazing day. Let's crush it. Let's have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have some fun. All right, everybody on YouTube, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the pre-market rundown. We've been live for about 45 minutes. You guys got the game plan on the SPY, Tesla, Coin, CRM, BA, Bank of America, Apple, Meta. Like we talked about, a lot of setups, a lot of stocks this morning, and stocks that have really, really good opportunity. So you guys at least have an idea of what we can expect to see today, this week. Tons of amazing setups. Tons of amazing opportunity, and so you're ready to attack it. So enjoy the rest of your day over on the YouTube. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning, right around 8:45 for the pre-market rundown. Take care. Enjoy your Tuesday. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow.